Hello everyone. Now, there's been a lot of flack being given to the poison typing lately. And I, for one, will not stand for it. Therefore, I'm going to prove how good they are in a Hardcore Nuzlocke on Pokémon Platinum. As always, the rules are a fainted Pokémon is considered dead and cannot be used again. You may only catch the first Pokémon of each type you encounter on every route. You may use no items in battle, and personally I'm including held items in that. You cannot overlevel past the gym leader's highest level Pokemon until the gym battle begins. And finally, you must play on set mode. Here's the Pokemon we have to play with in this run, and without any further ado, let us get into it. I start off by picking Turtwig as the first Pokemon we have. Because our first encounter is going to be grass, it makes sense in my head. I named him Cannon Fodder at some point because he cannot be used, and honestly we won't be using him, and I'm not inventive enough to think of another name. After this, we head on to Lake Variety, where we run into some guy eager to follow in Shakespeare's footsteps. However, he's talking to a lake and not an audience, so it's a bit weird. The flowing time, expanding space, 'twill maketh it mine one day. Cyrus is thy name, remember it well. Until then, sleep while you can, legendary of the lake bed. Wait, has this guy killed someone? We'd better let him through, just in case. We then run into Dawn, who thinks she needs to teach us about Pokemon catching. Seriously, look at you, Dawn. You think you can teach me, a guy who's been catching stuff since before there were even colour in the games? Come on, Dawn, play better. We can now finally head on to grab our starter Pokemon Budew, and I nickname it Rosebud. If you know, you know. With that, we can bid farewell to Cannon Fodder. Well, at least until we need some HMs anyway. And then we check out Rosebud, and we have a modest nature, which is brilliant as it ups special attack and it lowers attack, which is basically the perfect nature for this Pokemon. After this, we hunt down some clowns around the city, and we get the new Apple Watch. Yeah, we're rich. I even get a little Pikachu next to my time. After that, I decide to go through the process of EV training in special attack, which means I need Rosebud here to wipe out its species, and as you can guess, the battles take quite a bit of time. With that done and us level 10, I can now go on to take on Seymour, and I start off by missing 2 stun spores, but the third one hits, thank you game! I then use growth to max out my special attack until I'm taken low, and I need to use absorb to gain my HP back. After this, we had the Chimchar, and you'll notice I water spouted, but that was completely useless as he doesn't know a fire attack at this point. Regardless, we're faster and we heal more damage than he does anyway, so we're triumphant. We then move on to grabbing our next Pokemon being a Zubat, and ain't it beautiful? I can just imagine him with a top hat and a monocle someday. I'm so proud. She's a timid nature, but it's okay little one, we'll look after you. I then hear a sound in my head. And with that done, we can evolve our Rosebud into a Roselia. And with that Pokemon under our belt, we can head on to the first gym, which according to my research is a rock gym. Very unique idea, Game Freak. Anyway, we have Roselia, which is pretty OP for this point in the game. All I have to do is set up 2 growths and then sweep his entire team with Mega Drain. Probably didn't actually need the growths to be honest, but I couldn't be bothered doing the calcs on such a safe battle. As we're leaving the town, we run into Professor Rowan, who's getting a lecture from some homeschool kids. Normal kids don't have bowl cuts. Anyway, me and Dawn annihilate them and send them packing to mummy. After this, I then try and cross a bridge, but cannot because they're having a hissy fit after the beating I've just given them, and they're blocking my path. One of them has even had the nerve to lock the door to the building. I just wanted to go on my field trip. Since I cannot enter the building, I decide to go frolic in some fields where some guy gives me some honey. My parents always told me strangers didn't actually have the candy. How wrong they were. Once my frolic is over, I do have some honey, so I can use my persuasion skills to get the door unlocked. I then go and evolve my Zubat into a Golbat, and with that done, we can go and meet Karen. Foaming at the mouth over us telling her brats off, she attacks us. However, now we have a Golbat, we have nothing to worry about. We plough through her Zubat in one, and then we move on to the Purugly. Now, this thing can be pretty tough, but that's the whole reason I decided to evolve into a Golbat at this point. It makes the battle rather trivial, to be honest. After this, we meet Cheryl, who claimed Team Galactic was in the forest, but I think they must just have a thing for someone looking as youthful as I do, because we get through it without seeing any of them, and then she gives us a Soothe Bell. Why didn't I check up when we get this and evolve the Budew at this point? Anyway, we can now head on to Route 205 where we encounter a Wurmple and we nickname it Melon Musk. We then head back to Eterna Forest and grab a Ghastly. However, I forgot to record that bit, so here's the info on it. It's got a modest nature, which is a bit meh for a Ghastly. It does have great stats in both attacks, so it's not too bad, but it's also not brilliant. We then evolve the Wurmple and it does go into a Cascoon. I did get lucky with this, but I also would have just caught another if this wasn't the case. After this, we can finally get it to uphold the name and show us his melons. Seymour then runs into us again, and honestly, how this guy doesn't have a constant nosebleed, I'll never know. He tells us to check out a statue, but Ninja is already there. Obviously, you don't want to get in the way of a pro gamer, so we leave it. Now, we run into my true love, and she cuts through my heart. This being done, we can head on to the gym, and for whatever reason, in this gym, it's necessary to take on every trainer within it. Seriously, just set the clock to 12 and have no trainers in my way. Once we're through all that malarkey, we can get to Gardenia though, and we have our Golbat. Even though the Turtwig sets up a Reflect, it doesn't actually take us too long to claim the victory against it. She then sends out a Cherubi, who is a bit of a pain because it sets up a Leech Seed, but we crit it and we one-shot it. After this, we only have Roserade, sets up a Leech Seed, and as we take it down low, it stun spores us. Now, that's made it so we can't move, but thankfully it can't do any major damage to us, so we just need to hit through it, and we get this and win, and on top of that, we get a Crobat. Now we can enter the Team Galactic building, where Looker has apparently gone all Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as he's wearing a skin suit. We then have the Jupiter battle, but before that she lets me walk in front of her and grab an item. I always thought it was odd you weren't forced into this battle. But anyway, her Zubat gets blown away with 2 wing attacks. On her Stunk Tank, I use a Confuse Ray and it goes for Smokescreen, which causes me to miss. I then hit it, but before I can do anything again, it has screeched me twice, so I switch into Melon. He gets off a Gust, but also takes some pretty serious damage, therefore I need to switch my Crobat back in. He manages to knock it lowish, but once again, I'm one-shot. I go for Astonish to try and get the flinch, which I do, before going for a wing attack, and... why? It's on a sliver, meaning we lose Crobat. Had I just ground Ghastly up, I reckon I'd have had this and a free switch and been safe. Regardless, we win the battle, but it's with heavy hearts. This is my first run where I've had the opportunity to use a Crobat, and we've lost it on the first proper battle. At least on our way to grab a bike, our love comes and gives me her eggs, if you know what I mean. It's a Togepi egg. Come on guys, get your mind out the gutter. I then run into Ninja on Mount Coronet and get a lecture. The phrase "it's just a game" is such a weak mindset. Are you okay with what happened? Losing? Imperfection of a craft? When you stop getting angry after losing, you've lost twice. Okay buddy, I'm just trying to dodge the wild encounters here. We then absolutely mow down a bunny on our bicycle, and with the XP we gain from flattening it, Fartimus evolves into a Haunter. Now we need to go be fabulous and get our glitter powder, and then go on and show off being Queen Bee, which causes Fantina to step out in a bit of a huff. Now, I thought that was rude, so I go to her gym to show us a lesson, but in the process I do overlevel my Maylene, therefore I decide to start out with Rosebud. I miss my first Grass Whistle while it future sights. The second one does hit and it allows me to set up a Leech Seed and some growths. We do get burnt in this process though, which means when the Haunter comes out it does take us out. I switch in my Haunter and we Sucker Punch it, but it wasn't enough to finish her, so we take a hit and take it out on the next turn. Now we're on low health, and against the Miss Magias, even a crit won't finish it. This means we're taken out, and because we over leveled our Dustox, this run is over. Thankfully, on the second run, I actually prepared and ground up my entire team, which quite honestly makes the Jupiter battle a complete doddle. My Crobat only lost around a quarter of its health. And with that, we can head on to the Fantina fight again. This time we have Crobat, but we still start off with Fartimus, because it knows Will-O-Wisp and we don't want Crobat's attack halved. We switch into him once we see the Miss Magius turn up and do some pretty good damage with a bite. The next one leaves it low and we get confused, but it doesn't affect us as we snap out of its Sharpish, and that means we can take it out and then take the Haunter out using only one bite to give us this gym badge. After this we run into another battle against Seymour. The biggest threat is his Staravia, but it doesn't actually do much damage to us before we take it out. His Weasel is easy with Roselia. Monferno won't do much damage to Crobat, so we can switch him back in, and then all that's left is a Roselia, but we're faster than it, so it doesn't matter, it might as well not be there. I then have a wild Pikachu throw her baby at me, but I feel no remorse and annihilate it. Now we go on to show off our sick biking skills, and they're so good someone even stops us for an autograph. We then run into Seymour, who tells us something about breaking the seal. As long as you're a few pints in though beforehand, you can't moan at that, you're going to break it at some point. I then take a moment to watch the Pokemon in the daycare, and this Baneri has moved more in these 5 minutes than I did in the entirety of the lockdown. We then run into some crazy wrestler guy and get called a young lady, and I must say, I'm flattered. But because we're looking feminine and we're out of shape, I decide to do some manly stuff like punch some punching bags. Now, with this being the fighting gym, I actually didn't prepare adequately as it'll be easy, right? I go and take down the Medicham 1 and then go for an air cutter against the Machoke as it has a high crit chance, but it misses. This means by the time I actually take out, we're too low to beat the Lucario. I set up a Confuse Ray and it actually makes it safe for me to switch into my Haunter, but I'm not actually doing much damage with my Haunter, so I need to hope it will hit itself as I go for a Curse. But we're not that lucky. Why, oh why do I try to do these underlevel battles? It costs me most runs. I then have to switch into my Dustox as it's the best option for taking it out. We do take it out, but we've limited ourselves with this mistake. It's now time to move on to another Team Galactic section, and we've got a double battle with Dawn. I'm going to tell you this now though, my back is aching as I carried this hard. She did nothing. Inside the lookout we borrow Fly. Gotta be careful with the copyright in front of us. Now we go to cheer ourselves up by becoming a Krogunk, and then actually going and catching one. It's got a mild nature, which is plus special attack, minus defense, which to be honest is pretty trash for Krogunk. After that I head on to the gym and I completely forgot about the rival fight in front of it. Therefore I hadn't bothered to grind up. I mean, we'd just done a rival fight, so this one's caught me off guard. Crobat does take out the Staravia in a fly and a wing attack. Never mind, in 2 flies. His Weasel comes out, but we have Rosebud to make sure that's extremely light work. Monferno's next and we bring out Crobat, who uses a fly to take it out. And then one last fly finishes off the Roselia and this battle. Close one, but I'm going to get the guide out more often now. We can then go and evolve Gunk Shot into a Toxicroak, before heading on to some binoculars and finding out where Scrooper is in the Great Marsh. We go into the marsh and accidentally do a proper Nuzlocke by catching the first Pokemon we see. Whoopsie. But that done, we can get on to catching a Skorupi. Now, Drapion is going to be an incredible member of the team, powerful and good typing. You motherfucker! I then realise my moves aren't quite up to scratch for this gym, so I go and grab a Heart Scale. After this, we can now take on the gym. We start off missing a grass whistle, of course, but the second one does hit. After this, we set up a growth and Giga Drain to get us out of crit range. He does wake up and hit us. Thankfully though, the next grass whistle hits, and after a couple of hits and a growth, we're ready to sweep. Why? Well, Floatzel has ruined my plan as it's faster, so I switch into Toxicroak, and thanks to his dry skin, we actually don't get damaged on the switch in. Revenge is doing some good damage, so I use it a few times to take it out, and now we have Quagsire. Now ground is pretty good against us, so we get one hit off before switching into Crobat to nullify the attack. Then it's just a matter of a couple of flies and we have the win. Upon leaving the gym, we walk past someone who is stealing our joke. Team Galactic member then lets us take chase. Thankfully, we have 2 friendship Pokemon, so we are quite the fitness nut, and we catch them up with ease. Please ignore the bike I used. Upon that happening, we run into our darling yet again, but Seymour ruins it by coming over and calling her our sister.
What are you doing, step bro?
On second thought, we then move on by shooing a bunch of Psyduck, and she comes running back and gives us an old charm because we are so charming. Then I need to go back and show off some sick biking skills, but wild Pokemon keep ruining it for me. Once they stop, I can show off my 6 skills. I said I can show off my 6 skills and grab ATM. We then need to sell some stuff in order to get past 80 grand so that we can acquire 4,000 coins. Once we've done this, we head on to what seems to be a retirement village and speak to our future grandmother-in-law. She's then giving us some story about a painting, but at that point we're interrupted. However, we have Gunkshot, who is recently acquired Swords Dance and Brick Break, so this battle is beyond a joke. After this, we then get to run into a battle against Seymour on a bridge. But this time we're prepared and we're leveled up. I use 2 Poison Fangs to get a poison off on the Staraptor, then miss a fly. Thankfully the next turn we're in fly, poison takes out, meaning we don't actually have to waste a turn waiting for Heracross to be attacked. Infernape is a bit tankier, so a flying type move doesn't quite take it out, but I then use Wing Attack as I don't want to chance a miss. Weasel is next and Roselia comes out as it always makes incredibly short work of it. We then have Roselia in, but it isn't safe to switch into Crobat because it's so low, so we actually switch into Krogunk instead and set up Swords Dance before being put to sleep. Thankfully, we wake up just in the nick of time to hit it and take it out, winning this battle. I then have to take on the Steel Gym in Byron. I start with Roselia, and obviously it takes 2 Grass Whistles to put the Magneton to sleep. But what we need to do is switch into Gunkshot, and then all it is a matter of using Swords Dance and sweeping his entire team with Brick Break because they're incredibly slow, so they don't stand a chance. I then set sail to the Iron Islands where I run into Riley, who gives us strength and asks us to help him. We get ready to go in the cave, and go, go, go! With that, we hide in a library as the cops will never suspect us to be in there, and there is an explosion on the news. Knowing that they aren't after me now because of more pressing matters, I head to Lake Valor where I see a horde of Magikarp floundering, before heading into a cave and taking on Saturn. He's no trouble though, as all we need is Crobat to take down every single one of his Pokemon. I then have the Mars fight. Crobat takes out her Golbat and then gets confused by her Bronzor, meaning we need to switch out. I choose Melon, and after some healing and Silver Winds, we manage to take it out. I know it's going to go for Fake Out, so I protect before attacking. Unfortunately, it does put me to sleep after this, so I switch into my Gunk Shot, which is also put to sleep, but is eager enough to wake up relatively quickly and take the Purugly out. After this, I decide it's time to go underground, and I search around until I find a Heart Scale. And with that, we're going to go back to the move relearner. Bonus points if you can guess which move I'm teaching and why. We then head into the snow and run into Maylene, who rubs it in our face that she could fly to Snow Point. Not only have you taken my Haunter away from me, now you're rubbing salt in the wound that I can't fly there. We then run into Barry on a mountain, who brags he can rock climb and we can't. Seriously guys, come on, stop this bullying, I'm crying a little. Since we need to catch up, we head on to the next gym, where all I need to do is set up one sword stance and then take the Sneasel and Pillow-Swine out with Brick Break. I then have Frostlass come out, and this is faster than us, which is why I relearned Sucker Punch, meaning we can take it out before it hits us, and with one sword stance it's a guaranteed knockout. And that's the battle's over, as Abominous Snow really doesn't pose a threat whatsoever. I can now finally glide up the rocks like a majestic snake that I am, and then we get to see Seymour torn into. Who's bullying now, eh? Not feeling nice, is it? I then head back to Galactic headquarters, where I see a guy admiring a satellite dish. Must be a big TV fanatic. Have you not heard of Netflix? Then we head on to watch Cyrus give a wonderful speech. However, all his audience has a bowl cut, so I'm thinking his demographic is a bit slower than the average person. I then call him out on it, so he battles us. But again, his team isn't too great, and we have the mighty Gunk Shot, so all we need to do is Brick Break the Sneasel, take his Crobat down with our superior model, and then take his Honchkrow down with 2 flies. I then go on and give my own speech. We now have the battle to rescue the Lake Gods. We do manage to take the Crobat out, but we are low because of hitting ourselves. This means once we go onto the Toxicroak, we actually need to switch into our Crobat and give him the What For to win the battle. Now we've unlocked Rock Climb, I can go and grab a shiny stone, which unlocks the final evolution of our little Rosebud. With that done, we head on to Mount Coronet, where we run into Looker, who tells us to do his job. Being an adult in the Pokemon world is incredibly easy, as child labour everywhere in the name of growing them as a trainer. Anyway, we do head on to the one and only double battle with Seymour, where I use Roserade and bulk it up with Gross until the point where it needs to heal. We do use Giga Drain to try and get our health back, but we're getting double teamed quite a bit and we get not low, meaning we need to switch out. I choose Toxicroak, but he's double teamed and not low. Crobat goes through the same, therefore I need to rely on my Dustox. I have taught him Protect and Moonlight to keep it alive, and this wins us the battle. Thankfully, Seymour's Pokemon actually do carry some weight, unlike Dawn's. If they didn't, I'm 100% sure we would have lost a Pokemon here. And thank God I chose Protect over Toxic and Light Screen, as it carried this battle. Me and Cynthia then go on our first date in a universe all to ourselves. Nice. During this, I show off some of my sweet parkour skills and wall run past her. But then it goes downhill. Cyrus is here and he shoves her. Now, you can't be doing that to a lady, so we need to attack him. His team is pretty brutal at this point in the game though, and it can actually end runs. I start off by using Gunk Shot to one-shot his Houndoom, and then on the Gyarados I switch out to Crobat. I hit 1 fly and 1 wing attack as I want to knock him into healing range. He uses a Giga Impact on that turn, which is good for us because we can actually switch in and we can get a miss on Grass Whistle, of course. Jesus Christ, this move sucks. Anyway, on the turn he's healing, we do actually manage to get one off. This means we can switch into Krogunk and we can set up a Sword Stance, which lets us take out his Gyarados and Honchkrow with a Rock Slide. The Crobat is faster and confuses us, but I figure we can chance getting through it, and we go for it and get through it. He then uses Weavile, and I debate switching out, but he'll take down whatever I bring in, so I just need to attack. We hit through it, and although we take some major damage, it wasn't enough for the KO, so we get the victory. Now it's time to take on Pokemon Satan himself, and it's gone. All to a little froggy boy. Now that palaver is over, it's time to go and find the gym leader whose personality is based off a 15-year-old. During the battle against him, we can't start off with Rosebud as I actually over-leveled it, so we need to use Maylene as we can set up a light screen and hit it with 1 Silver Wind. I did this because Toxicroak cannot one-shot it with a dig, so we need some health chipped away before we can actually take it out. Once we're against the Electivire, we can then set up 1 Sword Stance and dig away because we'll one-shot the rest of his Pokemon. The Raichu is last, which is actually rather lucky as its static does trigger, and I maybe would have took some damage, maybe not if it wasn't last. But anyway, that's all 8 badges, meaning we can move on to the Pokemon League and have one last rival fight. We use our Crobat against this Staraptor where I try to get a poison with 2 Poison Fangs, but it fails, meaning that I need to use a fly in order to stand a chance of taking it out. It survives on a sliver, so I use Poison Fang as I don't want to risk a miss, and it will beat it. He then sends out his Floatzel, so I switch into my Roselia, and he hits it with a Crunch, which gets a defense drop. However, I'm sure we're safe. Never mind, I'm just dull, man. It's cost us our starter. We then switch into Gunk Shot. We can set up one Swords Dance and sweep through the entire team now. No issue. But this does mean we only have 3 Pokemon now for the Elite Four. I then had to think of some decent movesets, which are all on the screen now. I feel these will give us the best chance of victory. Plus, I have some TMs for certain points in this bit of the Elite Four. Well, I'm not hopeful, but here goes nothing. First member is the Bug-type member, Aron. We take his Yanmega down with a Rock Slide as it knows Double Team, so setting up on it is a bad move. He then sends out his Drapion. Hold on a minute, this thing isn't a bug, just look at it. Well, anyway, we set up a Swords Dance to enable us to one-shot it with Dig. Scissor is Steel type, so Brick Break ruins its day. Heracross is somewhat bulky, so it does get to us to the yellow before we take it out, but this point there's only Vespiquen, which will only try and raise its stats, therefore we can just go for a Rock Slide, we hit it, and we take it out. Now we have the next trainer being Bertha. Now my original plan involved Rosebud, but we messed up, so it did take a while to figure out a strategy. That being to teach Crobat both Roost and Rain Dance and then leading with it. We use Fly to damage the Whiscash before setting up a Rain Dance. I then Roost to get a bit of health before switching into Gunk, as it's gonna have some Rain up, therefore it'll gain some health back if it takes a hit. The Whiscash does go for Sandstorm though, that means one Brick Break and we take it out. Now, the reason we actually didn't take it out with Crobat is because we wanted to lure Gliscor in next. With that done, we can actually switch into Crobat, which isn't going to get hit by an Earthquake because it's Flying type. I then try and get myself somewhat healthy and use a Rain Dance as well, because just in case I need to use my Crobat. And then with that done, I can switch into Maylene. I then need to use a mixture of switching, protecting, and moonlighting to stall the PP of Gliscor's Earthquake. Once this is done, we can bring in Crobat again, who I Roost with before setting up a Rain Dance. It does get paralysed, so I decide not to chance another Roost and just switch straight into Gunk Shot. Now it's got no Earthquake PP, meaning we can set up without taking any major damage. 3 Swords Dance, then a Rock Slide. After this, it's just a matter of Brick Breaking our way to victory, as we will one-shot all her Pokemon, and they are all slower than us. Now, we have the battle against Flint, and with our Dry Skin, I needed to think of a good strategy. In the end, I settled on leading with Dustox. This allows me to set up a Light Screen, whilst he uses a Sunny Day. I can then switch into my Crobat, and we just need to use a combination of Roost and Rain Dance to stall his PP until he runs out of Sunny Days. Unfortunately for us, we do actually get burnt at some point, but I have time to set up the last Rain Dance and switch into Gunk Shot. Now, he should be pretty safe, so we can just set up 3 Swords Dance, take it out. After this, we can go on a Brick Breaking spree to take them all out. I opted to do the 3rd Swords Dance and use Brick Break over Rock Slide, because I didn't want to risk missing with the accuracy only being 90% on Rock Slide. And with that, we have the final Elite Four member, Lucian, who's by far the scariest one as he's Psychic type, but it's okay, I have a strategy. First, he has Mr. Mime, so we lead with Maylene, who sets up a Light Screen, and then PP stalls until he runs out of Psychic. Bit of a common theme of this Elite Four, isn't it? I throw attacks in there not to waste my PP at times. Anyway, once that's done, I ensure a Light Screen's set up and switch into my Croagunk. We then set up 3 Swords Dance and Brick Break the Mr. Mime. He then sends out Bronzong, who's weak to us, so 1 Brick Break will one-shot it. After that, I'm in a good position as I can use Dig, which will one-shot each of his Pokemon. I cannot believe that worked out for me. Honestly, I did think we were going to wipe here. Now we have the final fight against Cynthia, which is a battle for her heart. She starts off with Spiritomb, which knows Psychic, therefore we need to use Maylene and get Light Screen, Protect combo, plus a bit of healing in there to stall out the PP before we switch into Gunk Shot. He gets hit with a Dark Pulse, which lowers his defenses. And then we set up 2 Swords Dance. I would have set up a 3rd, but he actually does get a boost on Silverwind and I can't risk it. I use a Dig and it takes it out. I then have the Togekiss come out and 1 Brick Break is enough to finish it off. We then come against Cynthia's most notorious Pokemon, her Garchomp. We use 1 Brick Break against it. And it survives, honestly, meaning we get Earthquaked and taken out. I'm positive that was a favourable range for us too, so we have got really unlucky for this. Thankfully though, we can switch into Crobat, who can take out the Garchomp just using Fly. After this we have the Milotic, and it uses Ice Beam against us, which crits of course, why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it crit and take us out? That's the only thing that could actually take our Crobat out from full health. This means we're down to our last Pokemon, Dustox. I try and stall a little bit and I do get to full health, but it gets another crit on us and knocks us to 7 HP. Since it's faster than us, this is game over. I am positive the only reason we lost this was them 2 crits. All that was left after it was Lucario, and had Crobat not been crit, I 100% believe we would have won this. But unfortunately we didn't, and you know, the crit on the Dustox was just salt in the wound. I honestly believe we may have stood a chance. I'm not entirely sure if we'd have won, but we may have stood a chance if it wasn't for a double crit. Like, it's just bad luck. That battle is indeed possible though, and anyone doing this run, honestly, as long as you don't make stupid mistakes, it will be so easy. Like, if you had Haunter and Roserade at that point, you're laughing, but regardless, we didn't, so we lost it. But anyway, sometimes that's just how Nuzlockes go. You don't always get the win, and honestly, I don't know if I could have played better. If you guys think you could have, let me know below. If you enjoyed this video, it really does help me out to give it a like, as it will spread it further within YouTube's algorithm. I do have a massive list of runs to do now, but please keep leaving your comments below as I want to get to every challenge you guys suggest. Subscribe to see more challenges like this, and I hope you all had a good day, and goodbye.